Alright, ladies and gentlemen, what is looking to be a very quick series based off of Samsung's performance and, generally speaking, Longzhu's performance. Longzhu, BDD has left a lot of things to desire. I think he got picked off here and there. There was a lot of commitments, a lot of team play mistakes, I would say. It's hard to pinpoint this to a specific player, but I think the main point for me is, BDD still had some good trades on Tutalia early on and put himself in a scenario where, where Crown was low HP for the 2v2, then he died in the 2v2, and all of a sudden, they got the first blood, and then they forced again. Lulu was around mid lane, so was Tarek. He was walking through base, and then the Shen ultimate came down, and that was a big issue. I think Cho'Gath did some mistakes in his wave management in the early game, and then we had the mid lane play that just ended heavily in favor of Samsung. And then Longzhu, I felt like they were playing into the wrong side of the map. Shen ultimate was used, but Samsung still managed to get the play into bottom. So Samsung now on blue side, Longzhu are trying something different by putting themselves on red side. They came into this game with the first seed, so they get to choose what is happening on red side. I think Galio ban on blue side is fantastic. I think red side Galio is too powerful, and I'm happy that teams are well aware of this. Zaya's ban on red side, Janna's banned. We will expect a Lulu ban here into Samsung first picking Sejuani, because that has been their go-to preference for the last games. Might be a situation also where they just pick Tristana and be happy with it, because Tristana is something that has worked for them. Rakan is also a choice, but Sejuani is what they go to. So now the question is if Longzhu are going to steal a page out of the Samsung book and play the Rakan and Tristana themselves, and then maybe put Samsung on a situation where they play something else. Longzhu can also just pick up the Jarvan and Rakan. Interesting. Talia is being hovered. Talia is being locked in. Alright. Talia was very impactful the last game, and I think Talia is a fantastic champion. I think Talia is heavily underrated, and whenever I've seen Talia at this tournament, I think it's been through the roof. Okay. So Longzhu have a similar situation at their hands. Samsung are gonna get the bot lane that they want, with the Rakan and the Tristana. Tarek also worked out fine. Whatever can give Ardent Sensor. I'm hoping that Longzhu also just, no Jarvan this time, okay. I think Gragas functions a bit better against Tarek than Jarvan does. I think that is why Longzhu had some reservations here about picking the Jarvan, because Tarek does very well into Jarvan, knowing his engage comes in, and then he just drops the ultimate and can get a lot of effective damage, kind of absorption down, and then Gragas can split people up and kind of put Tarek in a position where he can just only ult 2 people. Malzahar is the ban. I think Cho'Gath might be the second ban coming in from Longzhu. Instead it's Cassiopeia. I don't think Cassiopeia is that great into Talia, but there's been a lot of Cassiopeia bans from Longzhu. Talia's in the mix. Let's see now. Samsung, the last time when they were planning to pick Talia, they banned Ryze. Let's see if that is the pickup for Crown. He has played a lot of Ryze. Trundle. So this is a Trundle that can go support, right? This is a Trundle that can smash or eat Tarek and bite Tarek, and Trundle Pillar as well. But the main thing is Trundle Pillar is not that useful against Tristana. So sure, Trundle support is good into Sejuani, but other than that, I'm not too hyped up on this pick. And holy moly, we have a Lissandra. Lissandra. So we got heavy cleanse usage here. I wouldn't be surprised if Prey even runs cleanse, because it's all about that CC, you know. Right now Samsung have CC on everyone except the Tristana, of course, and this is a Trundle top going into the Shen. I think Shen is one of the better tanks into Trundle, but Trundle should be able to be just fine in this. I don't think necessarily he's going to pressure Shen super much, but I think he's going to be fine. So the main thing we need to pay attention to is what is going to go down in mid lane. Mid lane, Lissandra can also push, but to be honest, when Talia was released, my first thought was that this is a better version of Lissandra. Lissandra was always the champion that you want to push in with, and then you want to kind of roam with and use your TP to get advantages and just push with the Q. But Lissandra has lost that space or that kind of pedestal ever since Talia has been released into the game. So this is old gods versus new gods. I think Lissandra as a champion is a bit weaker than Talia. Oh, he's walking. Was he walking to the wrong side? But this is the third time he's walking off stage. All right. Third game now, Samsung have been looking very strong. I want to discuss the draft as soon as we head into the game. This is going to be a very explosive one because it all comes down to who has push priority in mid lane, who actually creates a situation. I think there's an advantage here that BDD is able to run cleanse, and in the 2v2, Sejuani and Lissandra have these ultimates that can be cleansable, and that matters a lot. I think Longzhu have a slight advantage in mid lane, but then they run into the same problem as always, or not as always, at least as in previous game, they're playing against a Shen. And as long as Shen can get priority, as long as Shen has his ultimate and Samsung can force a mid lane together with this, then they should also be the ones in pressure, in position to get priority. So the way Longzhu want to play it, or the way I assume they will play it, later down the line, when Shen actually is level 6, I feel like BDD and Cuz could play it in a way where they just clear the wave, push the wave, and play it more defensively by not forcing on the enemy. Forcing on Lissandra is going to be dangerous. Then they just push in the wave, Lissandra shows up on the wave, and then they just walk in the river and pressure. A big difference here as well, as I think, at least with Trundle, there might be like a slight possibility of diving Shen, if anything, together with Talia. So that last game with Orianna is not the #1 dive champion, Orianna as well. Talia is going to be better for that more than anything. But in a situation where Longzhu actually want to play into top side and punish the Shen more than anything when he has his ultimate, you know, playing into bottom side against Shen ultimate might be hard sometimes, especially if Trundle has to TP back to lane or things like this. Diving Shen is going to be much easier than last game when they had the Cho'Gath and the Orianna. So Longzhu, at least Prey, this time around he has Fervor. I was very unhappy with the fact that he ran Wardlord's Bloodlust. I think Fervor, I think it's horrible. I think it's, I mean, Fervor is fantastic. I think Bloodlust is horrible. That's what I was trying to say. CoreJJ coming in with the smack, hits Prey twice. Prey loses 3 bars of his HP, which is about 40% of his HP. Okay. Longzhu starting topside with Cuz. Sejuani doing the same. I just wanted to take a step back and see if both top lane is leashed. Looks like both top lane is just leashed. Then they go into topside around the same time. BDD now, like looking at BDD, like in mid lane, he is getting 3 CS off of the first wave, and Lissandra just pushed in. Like Lissandra pushed in like a mofo. Like she just got the wave in, and then she's walking towards both sides, warding, checking for the crab. I like this ward from Lissandra because she's going to spot Cuz eventually. Since Cuz is going to path into bottom side and he's going to try to kill this crab. And Sejuani is going to contest this, and any type of vision is going to be very beneficial. Gorilla is going to need level 3 before he becomes active. All the spells are very important here for Rakan. Khan is losing a lot of HP, and there's been a lot of trading up top because both top laners don't have that much CS. Seems like both of them have missed quite a few to get some trades in. Man, I wish we had like individual angle, you know, for every single one, where we could watch every single thing here. So looking at it, you know, Crown is maintaining the push priority in mid lane, which is incredible. I thought Talia would be able to contest this. Of course, it's a matchup that I haven't seen that often. Lissandra does have a lot of pushing power in her Q, but I always felt like Talia should be able to contest that. The main thing is with Talia, she has her grounded earth, right? So she can't really have the same effectiveness when it comes to her Q. And Lissandra always has the same. There's no frozen ground under her after she Qs. But the priority from both mid lane and bot lane forces Kaz to use his flash. Kaz manages to pick up one crab while Ambition got the other. And Kaz decides to not do his golems. Alright. Base into golems is also fine. Like, he's going to path into top side anyway right now because his raptors are spawning. So maybe he's just ignoring the golem camps and going for his spawn of raptors and then going into bottom side to place more vision. The map is effectively, like, essentially mirrored right now. Kaz got forced out of his bottom side jungle, and Sejuani just followed him in, knowing that Kaz, even though he had blue buff, was very low mana and could just walk in there together with the priority from bot side. Because raptors are not quite online yet. It did take golems. Kaz is slightly ahead on XP here. Could see that Ambition had a slightly less efficient clear because this is the first time Ambition is killing the Gromp. And right now Samsung's bot lane is doing fantastically. You can see that they're putting a lot of trades in their favor, and Tarek is doing better in this lane matchup than I expected. I don't think necessarily that Rakan is that good into Rakan, but I always felt like it was kind of even. But Tarek does great into melee champions. Rakan is not melee, but essentially he's melee because that's the way you have to play Rakan, with the W. And you know, I thought the Varus would be the deciding factor, but the more and more I see Varus, the more and more I dislike it. Crown TP'd back to mid lane quite recently. So did Khan. We will have to see now when the Shen ultimate comes online, which should be any moment, together with this wave that Kubi is taking up top. Mercury threads ready on BDD. A lot of Mercury threads bottom mid lane, as this is the 5th one in the span of 3 games. And Tristan and Tarek are just perma pushing in bottom here, and Ruler with the buffer abuse. These short trades are not that bad for Ruler because he has Warlord's Bloodlust. There was a lot of creeps also hitting prey during this time, and after Gorilla uses W, there's no way for him to reach Ruler. So Ruler did in fact trade very well here. Alright, good knockup. Kaz has the flash. Shen ultimate. Deja vu. But Shen ultimate gets pillared by Trundle. So it's not that big of a deal. Longo should be happy with his outcome. Samsung will get priority on bottom side and might be able to just invade this blue buff. Cuz is very low on mana, and ambition is level 6 already. So I want to take a look at the clear here. So Kaz didn't do his raptors. He went into bottom side straight away after doing golems and spotting ambition in the top side jungle. Then he walks into bottom. Ambition chases him out. Ambition gets to put the good vision, and then Ambition does his golems the second time. And the main issue here for Kaz is that he didn't have a chance to do raptors, so he's not going to be level 6. He's not going to be anywhere close to 6, while Ambition is level 6 already. I'm trying to figure out here where Ambition got his XP. So he's doing his raptors the second time, and Kaz is doing golems. Then he's doing... Did Kaz just do his raptors really late and I didn't recognize? Is that what happened? Yeah, he did his raptors really late. So that's my bad. I saw that. I was saying that Kaz had the more efficient clear, but he didn't do his raptors. And then I said that he's going to go and path towards his raptors, but that wasn't a possibility because he killed his raptors really, really late. So this is a mistake of mine. I didn't see the fact that Kaz skipped his raptor camp. That puts him way behind now. Way behind. That makes a lot more sense. I thought Kaz did red into raptor because this is like the more standard play for Gragas. Gragas wanted to recall and then path into bottom. He also has all his camps alive up top side. And he's forced to go into bottom instead. And you know, there's still going to be a lot of value. Like the Shen ultimate gets cancelled. I think if it wasn't cancelled, it would have been even better. Because Shen would have been in bottom, and it would have been a lot worse because I don't think Samsung can dive necessarily. But Longzhu can definitely... Ooh. Alright, that's a nice cleanse. That's a Captain Jack cleanse right there. But BDD with the lack of cleanse now is going to be pretty deep. And Ambition... Oh, there's no smite. Ambition used smite to heal. And Longzhu eventually get forced off. A lot of summoners burnt here, BDD, with both summons burnt, and Kaz with the flash. It was frustrating for him to stay because Samsung was stronger in this position. After the gank on bottom, they were the ones with the mana, and Longzhu just needed to base as soon as possible, but they didn't get that opportunity because Samsung, after they Shen ulted, they had priority on bottom and they just continued, and the timing on blue buff was perfect for them to capitalize on the fact that Shen ultimate. But in the end, you know, the trade-off is completely fine. Longzhu now have more windows to create something. There's no Talia ultimate. And Kaz, if he can reach level 6 here, maybe. Maybe he can create something through mid lane now. No summoners on Koi JJ, and he could also be a target for potential kills here for Longzhu. And I feel like the massive play into bottom is what Longzhu should gun for. But Shen ultimate has been off cooldown for quite some time already, and it's going to come up in about 1 minute. I'm talking about this timing with the Shen ultimate and hyping it up so much, but it's a small window. And Talia ultimate is on an even bigger cooldown. So, you know, this matchup is hard for Khan. I think it should be with Bramble Burst and Shen with the timer build that everyone's going for. I think it's a big deal. Samsung are the ones playing around mid lane and getting mid priority, and BDD is playing quite safe. Shen ultimate is off cooldown now, and now the tables have turned once again. I think Kuvik can maintain pressure here against the Trundle, because it seems very hard for Khan to hit Shen at all. Shen is going to outtrade him. Khan with the lifesteal now should be able to just kind of ignore Shen and just keep on hitting. Kaz is going to get caught here. A lot of CC down, and there we go. The priority from mid lane eventually pays off. It's just a big issue here that Gragas is walking into bottom, and Taric and Tristana are pushing in. Taric and Tristana is pushing in, and Gragas is forced to make a defensive play. At the same time, Samsung have the vision game around mid lane set down, and BDD can't take any path into bottom. He has to take risks, and I think the idea from Longzhu is that they get priority through bottom S3, and then Talia can always support because she has ultimate. That's why they're kind of ignoring Talia in mid lane. But the big issue is then when Samsung actually win 3v3 bottom. They win 3v3 bottom, they have Shen ultimate for bottom. It's going to be more useful than Trundle is ever going to be at this stage in the game, and that is a big problem. Right now it's going to be very hard for Longzhu to get priority anywhere. Like, if anything, they need to abuse this timing with Shen ultimate down. The second problem is that Kaz is now 2 levels behind. Ambition has been very active in these early games, and it's a new ambition. It's definitely a new ambition. What a world we live in if Samsung's gonna 3-0. But right now, you know, they're looking great. They're looking fantastic. The Lissandra is working out way more than I thought. And the Lissandra seems to be able to push mid lane and be under control of mid lane. I'm also surprised that you know, this Varus pick is just not paying off. It's just not paying off. Like Tristana is winning the lane matchups, and at the same time she outscales, and there's a lot of reasons for me why I think this Varus is just not that too great of a pick. Fervor is going to scale better into the game than Warlord's Bloodlust though, so this is something we need to pay attention to. So him being 7 C's behind is not that big of a deal. But you know, all in all, being even against Tristana is not what you hope for. Question is if Longzhu could have picked any better support in this scenario. If they could have... well, they last picked Rakan. Is Rakan the best thing you can pick against this team? You know, it's a Taric ultimate. Like, Rakan is always going to be useful, right? Like, if he forces Taric ultimate, that's positive. If he gets a good engage off, that's positive. So Rakan definitely, as a champion, scales into the game always, and is always going to be useful, no matter what you throw at him. But was there any pick that could have been better than Rakan? Like, Braum is not that great. Like, even though Braum Varus is quite a strong combination, Braum is not good against Tristana Taric. What else is there? What can buy out in Sensor? Soraka? No, I guess Rakan is the best choice you can go for here. I want to see the timing of this base here. Kaz already died once, and Talia is just stuck under a tower. Like, she's legit just stuck under a tower. Because can't really contest this at this point in time. I just feel like he's too weak. He'll get one-shotted by Crown and Ambition. So as it seems right now, it seems very difficult for Longzhu to get priority through mid lane. I feel like that window has completely passed by. Shen ultimate is back up. And they have a lot of ways of using the Shen ultimate. I'm really liking what I see from Samsung. They have like a composition that always kind of makes sense. It meshes together very well, and the Lissandra pick kind of wraps it up very neatly. Gorilla, I think he ulted away and started running. Prey has flash. That's the Gragas ultimate. Kaz has no E. That was a Talia. Also in River. BTZ is not going to make the same mistake as last game when he played Orianna. But this was a good situation for Kuve to force in, because top wave was in a good position. But Longzhu getting away without losing any member is also positive from their end. But they did in fact lose a lot of HP, so very important here that the Sejuani ult doesn't land, because if it does, he gets one-shotted and it's insta GG. Khan, I think he took his jungler's red buff to play top lane with. Longzhu now very ahead on tempo. I think you could argue that maybe Mountain Drake wasn't the best option, but Kuvi already killed the wave with the Titanic Hydra proc. Whoa, Khan! That's what is necessary. Khan delivering when it matters. Solo kill. On to Kuve. I want to see what goes down. The ultimate comes in from Khan. He heals up even though he's bramble vested. And there we go. Okay. It's crazy though. Trundle is healing so much, even though he has grievous wounds on him. He heals so much even though grievous wounds is ticking away at him. And interesting how the matchup all of a sudden shifted. You know, it turned from Longzhu having a dive scenario into Kuve getting smackarooed, and that was crazy how low Khan went before he ulted, and then he just went for it. Crazy stuff. You know, if there was one avenue of pressure they should explore in, where we talked about what we talked about earlier, is they can set these dives up on top side. I feel like bot side is lost cause. I think Tariq and Tristana, they are not going to get pushed in ever again. And I think if anything, Longzhu should be looking for the plays up top side. Khan has opportunity to roam into mid lane with proxying the wave, but the main issue for me is that Trundle roams are not that effective. And if Longzhu don't make a play into top side by sacrificing some time, like for example here, if BDD just pushes in and then roams into top side, then it's going to be good. But Shen is also proxying the wave, so there's not going to be any wave for the dive. Trundle proxies, and maybe Longzhu can do something around mid lane. BDD is going for the base. Longzhu are not committing to any play on bottom. Kaz is just playing the defensive game. And Trundle is walking up top side to catch the wave. This is a fantastic trade from Samsung. Ult from Kaz splits them up, but it doesn't seem to matter. Prey gets kind of saved by Ruler, if anything, and Prey has no flash. So this ultimate here from Ruler is quite iffy. You know, it's quite unnecessary. It's not good at all. Like Prey is just surviving because of this. But let's take a look at the situation again. Shen has ultimate, he's in base. Wave is in good place for him to just base and not get too punished by it. Trundle is proxying the wave, but his roam into mid lane is just not that great. And Shen ultimate just pops off in bottom. Let's take a look at this again. Longzhu went for the engage. Gragas didn't seem too ready about it. Like Gragas is moving back and forth and just doesn't look that like Kuz is on the same page here. Taric ultimate goes down at a very good time. I think Varus should have died here too for sure. And it would have been a lot better. Prey does survive in the end and Talia Wall comes in to separate them. But the main issue here is that Khan is on a timer. Khan is on a timer and proxying the wave is not good. I think proxying the wave is good if you can roam into mid lane and actually make use of it. But Trundle in mid lane is not something that matters, and this Lissandra pick is also working out big time because Lissandra is maintaining push in mid lane for the entire game. There was never a moment where BDD was the one with wave priority. Prey gets saved by the Tristana ultimate, and then the Shen ultimate goes down. And the reasoning behind this, you know, I think if you commit into this and then, like after the Taric ultimate comes down, you back off. Because after that, it's no longer a good situation. Like when Taric ultimates, you need to walk away. But if you walk away, he's going to Ardent Sensor lifesteal up. So the play in the first place is not the greatest. But Longzhu's bot lane is in such a weird situation because they can't really play the game. Let's be honest, they can't really do much in this game. They're getting pushed in, and if anything, what could have been done is that they should have played better in the early lane phase. But at this point in time, when Shen is very active and the only thing Trundle is doing is proxying the wave, then it's a big issue. Because if anything, I feel like it gives Shen space. Because Shen, what he wants to do is just be effective with his TP, and Trundle wants to like force the fight on Shen and then force the dive situation and then hit the tower. But he's not going to hit the tower if Shen is also proxying the wave while you're proxying the wave. So I'm not too big of a fan of this decision. Like if his roam into mid lane was godly and he could have actually done something to create some mid pressure and get some mid priority, then it would have been better. But with Trundle against Lissandra, it just seems like a lost cause. Samsung Galaxy with the 4k gold lead, continuing to snowball. They get the first tower off of the kill on bottom. No equalizing play from Samsung. They managed to get some top tower damage. The top tower is low, but considering that Taric and Tristana have been up there and they are doing beautiful things here, then it's there's no way in hell that Longzhu managed to get top tower. So Tristana with the priority into top, goes into top. Rakan goes up there to do what exactly? Pick up a coin. And then Core JJ and Tristana, they are just in mid lane first. Rakan is nowhere to be found. Longzhu are going for top wave priority, while Samsung pick up a free mid tower. Longzhu still have some tools to create some picks, but Samsung still have a very powerful composition. Like their comp is together with this, Tristana is not going to fall off, and at the same time, you know, their comp is very good to engage with. They have a lot of tools to get in there. They have a lot of tools to deliver Shen with, and I'm loving this comp from Samsung. Loving it. Absolutely loving it. And I thought the Trundle blind pick was quite strange. You know, it works. Like against Cho'Gath, it's very different because you can maintain Cho'Gath in lane at all times and there's not a Shen ultimate working, and at the same time Shen has better spells to trade with the Trundle. So mixed feelings here. I praise Longzhu a lot for their innovation, and that has been like the history of Prey and Gorilla, I feel. But Samsung as a team, I think they are just their draft is just so clean. It's super clean. And now all of a sudden after this series, Samsung is looking like the team that is going to win the World Championship. But then, you know, you just have to think to yourself that the situation where SKT, you know, they didn't play it, they might also look fantastic, you know. If Samsung managed to make such great changes, why wouldn't SKT do so? And there's always a big difference between SKT in group stage and in best of 5. I want to take a step back and look at the situation. So we had the rotation into mid lane from Samsung. Rotation into mid lane. Longzhu are pushing out top with the fervor. And then they continue, expecting Samsung to go towards Infernal Drake. They continue and they push top wave, and Kuve is up top because his team is playing towards bottom side because of Infernal. And then as we proceed, Shen is now top side. Tristana rotated into mid lane. Tristana was at the Drake situation, and Shen is not in position to be bottom. So I feel like here Kuve wasted a lot of time, like going into top side because his team was doing Infernal, which is understandable to some degree, but Varus took the turret under his nose. And then Shen is walking all the way into bottom now, and Khan is taking the turret in time. Khan level 15. So a big thing here about Longzhu is that they are very good at killing tanks, very good at killing frontliners. There's the Wits End on the Varus, so he can survive the initial engage here from Samsung that is very magic damage heavy. But the main thing here, I think the biggest factor behind why I think Samsung will have more success as we proceed in the game is just the range advantage that Tristana brings to the table. I think Prey with his Wits End, you know, he's going to eventually need to buy Quicksilver Sash, and there's a lot of items that are bought for a defensive purpose. And you know, sure, there's a cleanse in mid lane, there's Mercs on the other 3, and Ninja Tavi on Varus. I think eventually Tristana should be able to take over the game, because there's should be hard for Samsung to just kill her with the Shen ultimate, with the barrier, with the Taric ultimate. Core JJ has a flash, pops his ultimate, doesn't apply on anyone except himself. Holy. Hourglass from Crown. Prey gets killed. Jump up. Holy. That's an Asher, right? Let's take a look at this situation once again. So, Varus ultimate was used on Taric. Taric trades with his ultimate. Shen ultimate also comes in. Shen is coming at an angle, and you know, Cuz already now walks into Tristana. He walks at an angle where he walks into Tristana, and Tristana gets a massive trade onto him. So right now, like, Cuz comes into this situation with less than half health. And after that, he's forced to disengage and use his spells defensively. His E, his ultimate, and that's a big deal. After that happens, Gorilla E's in, and the Gragas ultimate lands at the same time as Gorilla ults and tries to W. So that's a problem as well. We see two ultimates overlapping, and Gorilla with his not doing much at all. And then he gets one-shotted. Gorilla still has flash, still has heal, and he did nothing to contribute to this fight. And Kaz, with his bad positioning, coming into mid lane, walking into Tristana, is also a big issue. BDD was also in the mid lane, so forcing here is a very bad choice. Ambition has a great position, BDD is also in a great position, and Shen is always happy TPing in. The wave is even down bottom. I think it might be slow pushing towards Samsung potentially. No, it should be slow pushing towards Longzhu. So it's not optimal, the wave bottom, but who really cares if it's going to be a team fight anyway that decides the game. Gorilla. So Kaz and Gorilla are using their ultimates at the same time here, which makes one of them waste. And then Gorilla gets one-shotted. Bray tries to come into the frame, and Talia was just not in position to begin with. And in order for Longzhu to kind of win a fight, they need to get picks, and then they need to make sure that when the Taric ultimate comes down that they can disengage. But when Kaz is coming from a strange angle, gets chunked out by Tristana, and Talia is nowhere to be found, then it's just not going to happen. Like, Talia is up top, and she joins 10 seconds after the fight has started. So the main issue for me is Kaz's positioning, Rakan and Kaz, like Rakan and Gragas, overlapping ultimates, wasting both, and then Talia is stuck up top while this is happening. And we can take a step back and look what Talia did. It was Lissandra pushing out top, and then the big wave was coming, and Samsung are just having priority right now. Crown walks through mid lane while Talia is busy dealing with the top wave, and then the force happens. I just feel like Kaz's positioning is the biggest issue. Talia being top, dealing with top wave, and then Gorilla and Kaz overlapping with their ultimates. And then looking at Samsung, what do they do right? Let's look. Ruler gets a fantastic trade-off for Gragas. You know, this is really, really well played, and he does the aggressive jump in, and Gorilla tries to counter with his ultimate, and then Crown ults himself. Maybe it wasn't necessary. I think he could have ulted someone else, but you know, it's completely fine. Like, everyone that he was close of died eventually anyway, and BDD was not in ult range, so it's not that big of a deal. It's also, he would have ulted like a Merc's target, which isn't too fancy. The heal on Lissandra is quite juicy. And Samsung are looking like they're gonna 3-0 the team that was going to finally dethrone freaking SK Telecom. But Longzhu just have this massive issue. Whoa. I think it's ridiculous that this works on Tristana. But don't hate the player, hate the game. Gorilla gets a knock-up on Shen and then taunts up the rest of the Samsung members. A lot of frames are dropped here for some reason. I look at how the quality drops here, and this is only stream. This is a stream problem. And Longzhu have a massive issue now. They are massively behind. They're playing against the Baron, and Longzhu didn't have a good response to this Shen. I felt like Shen was always quite effective. And second game, it was a big deal. First game, I think Longzhu had a lot left to desire with their draft. And Kuve had insane wave management. Crown's Talia in the second game was fantastic. And Samsung are looking crazy good. Ambition is showing a glimpse of the group stage ambition. But his team is taking an inhibitor. Khan is tipping behind. Let's see, this might be like an opportunity for BDD. He has ultimate. Maybe he can cut them off. Ruler jumps into BDD, and now Ruler is stuck between a freaking traffic cone and a wall. It's not that big of a deal. Like Longzhu, this is the best thing they can hope for. They get a couple of kills because Samsung are a bit too relaxed maybe in their gameplay. Ambition got caught and died on top side, and his team was bottom side, and then they kind of overextended to get the inhib, which some people might consider worth. You know, Tarek dies. Ambition gets pillared here beautifully. Too big to walk through. And then, you know, I just want to talk about Longzhu and what went wrong for them in this series. Longzhu it's crazy shit. I just want to like think about it for a moment. First game, draft problems. I think Longzhu performed better in that game. They had the solo kills. They had, I think BDD's performance was questionable with the flash ultimate and some other things that he did in that game. On Syndra, he got the solo kill on Crown. Longzhu, I feel like as a team performed better in this one. They had the Xayah and Thresh, but the comp left a lot to be desired. And when Kuve had this incredible wave management going for himself, then the comp of Samsung had like all the CC, had the engage tools, and the comps of Samsung just they get all of them like wrapped neatly together. They have very obvious win conditions, and I love seeing that. While on Longzhu's hand, it's like a lot of ifs and iffiness, and it's a lot like, oh, we're gonna pick this because this is a good matchup, and the thought process doesn't go much further than that. And I think that has been an issue. In the second game, they didn't deal with the Shen properly. Let's take a look at this. Good knockup here from Gorilla. Fantastic knockup from Gorilla. Ambition. We can take a step back, and before we talk about Longzhu and what they did wrong in all these games, let's give them a final chance before this game gets before this game ends. So Ambition already starts the fight with half health. Lissandra ease in. The Triarch ultimate doesn't do too much because the Varus ultimate. Look at the Varus ultimate. Look at the juicy Varus ultimate. It lands on 3 people in a pile here, and then the follow-up from Gorilla. He ults in, and the Tarek ultimate doesn't do much because it's landing at a time where Samsung can't do much with it. So the call here should have been to not walk in as Kuve did, because Kuve is kind of walking into his enemies here. He's walking in and he's trying to cut them off by getting a good taunt off, but Kuve is doing it at a bad time. You know, his team is coming in now, and the Varus ultimate lands. Like Kuve's play in some cases is good, but in this case it's bad because the Varus ultimate comes in as a counter engage tool, and Samsung couldn't really walk forward, and Kuve is taking a lot of free damage here. The Gragas ultimate lands, and Kuve needs to just back off and needs to just wait for his team to walk in, and then when his team walks in, he can try to take this path. But even I think in that case, Longzhu would already kind of walk through their base gate and walk back. So I think Kuve walking in here is a mistake. Samsung tried to kind of follow up on his taunt, and then they walk into this Varus ultimate that roots up everybody, and even though Shen got a juicy taunt, it doesn't matter because the counter engage here was very well played. So Khan starts it off by DPSing a bit on Ambition. He has the lifesteal, and Khan didn't use ultimate here, he was just DPSing away. And then Kuve comes in here and takes a lot of free damage and gets a good taunt off, but the Varus ultimate keeps Samsung in place. And Kuve should have just waited. He should have tried this a bit later, and he should have allowed his team to get in there. And I think the Taric ultimate could have also been placed better. But Taric ultimate is a very difficult ultimate to pull off properly, and I think CoreJJ has played very good on this Taric in both games that he played. Alright, Khan. What's happening here, bro? He doesn't have flash. He has Mercs though on his W, so the CC doesn't really matter to him. Taric ultimate comes down. Crown ults himself. Crown zones the entire backline while Tristana is dealing with the front line. Khan has no ultimate now, so he's a lot squishier than before. And CoreJJ survives because of the ultimate, and very well played here. I think the main issue for Longzhu is that they are getting funneled through this space. If they are walking through this space, the Lissandra play is just way too easy to cut this off. Because right now Samsung are more grouped, and whoever, you know, regardless of this position, like imagine if Khan and Longzhu are here, then it's going to be like if Khan and Kaz are here, it's going to be the same. And I think going through here is just a death spot. Even if Khan and Kaz are here, Lissandra should still go for the same play because she's gonna hit so many people. But in this case, even when Kaz are positioned where they are, Lissandra is just able to cut them off. Okay. So the fight led to top inhibitor tower falling. Holy. The game is over. Longzhu got smashed. Holy moly. Game is over. Let's summarize. Let's summarize the story of Longzhu. Group stage. Very easy group. They were the ones that no one hesitated to put first. But to be honest, no one hesitates to put Koreans first unless you're called Poles. If you're Poles, then you're like a genius when it comes to the pick'ems. But Longzhu is the team that loses this time around. They got a 6-0 in group stage, and they weren't met with a lot of opposition. Most of their players looked phenomenal, and there wasn't really a true test when it came to Longzhu. I think Azil had a very good point, pointing out that Longzhu have only played one best of 5, and that best of 5 was against SK Telecom, and they were still kind of an untested quantity when it came to how they will perform in the best of 5. They still have 3 players that haven't been to the World Championship, and that is important to remember. They haven't been to Worlds, and I think in some cases it showed. I think BDD played some situations a lot worse than he could have, and I think the same can be said for Kaz. Kaz has been pointed out to be the weakness of Longzhu, and maybe it wasn't exposed in the group stage, but he was facing worse opposition. Longzhu had a massive problem in draft, I feel, in game 1. I think they didn't have a lot of win conditions, and the reason they made a lot of strides in that game and won a couple of fights 2 for 3 and ended up in a position where they could pressure was because of pure skill. I think they were better in the team fights in game 1, and then I think Samsung had the better draft in game 1. Samsung had this composition that allowed them to team fight very well, and then Kuve, with his incredible wave management, dealt with the problem that is Jax. Jax didn't get the split push priority or didn't get the space to split push, put himself in a scenario where he had to group, and all of a sudden, you know, Longzhu had this issue that they couldn't put Jax in the side and he had to group. And if you compare a Cannon to a Jax in a team fight, especially in a team fight where Malzahar is going to ult to Jax for free, and there's also Tristana on enemy team, there's going to be a big problem. And the second issue with all these drafts is that the response to Tristana was very weak. Xayah and Thresh did in fact have a lot of pressure, but that is like a given if you pick Thresh, right? If you don't have pressure in your lane with Thresh, which is, he's like the lane champion. If there's a support champion that is like the super lane, is Thresh. He ran Ignite, and it's expected that he's going to get the first tower. I feel like Samsung responded very well by putting the cannon up top and also taking the top tower. They didn't get the first tower essentially, but they did get the response tower, and that is what matters in this scenario. After that, you know, the game went on and the team fights were in Samsung's favor. We had game 2. Game 2, fantastic first blood onto Crown. He was playing Talia and BDD was playing Orianna. Did some very good trades, you know, early on in the lane, which put them in favor when it came to the 2v2. 2v2 went in favor of BDD. And then BDD, together with his team, forced onto Crown. Lulu was roaming into mid lane. Tariq was coming from base. They forced onto Crown. And Crown, even though he doesn't have an ultimate in this fight, Cho'Gath was very far away from affecting this fight. So the main thing here was that Longzhu needed to wait for Khan to impact the fight in mid lane, but he was nowhere to be found. You know, he was on his way, he pushed in the top wave. There's not something we blame Khan for, but the fact that Longzhu as a team committed to this situation. The Shen ultimate came in, the CC landed on Orianna, she got killed, and all of a sudden Talia was back in the game. After that situation, I think Longzhu still had opportunities to get mid priority, but the big issue for Longzhu was that they were playing towards the wrong side. When you have Cho'Gath and Shen up top lane, no one's going to be able to be Dovin. The waves are going to die rather fast because both of them are going to be able to push because of Tiamat and Cho'Gath's inherent ability to push. And then, you know, the play into top side is much weaker. And you could see that Longzhu positioned all their pink wars towards top side, put all their vision towards top side. And I think this goes to speak with the statistic that was shown earlier on the stream. Gorilla and Prey, I think Prey is the one that has the lowest jungle participation of any AD. And I think this speaks to Longzhu's way of playing. They play the carry top lane as they play into top side. They are playing around mid and top and try to get an advantage from there, while Prey and Gorilla have been very self-sufficient. And this time around, it didn't work out at all, especially in this second game where Longzhu, as I was talking about, they're playing towards top side, and then after this happened, BDD and Ambition, because they got the vision control after the previous play we're talking about, when they used Shen ultimate and got 2 kills, they played into bottom, used that vision to make that dive play, get that double kill, and all of a sudden Tristana was super far ahead, Talia was very, very far ahead, and they just took away the game after this happened. Then we had the team fight situation where BDD got cut off by the Talia wall, and Crown's performance in the second game was phenomenal. The Malzahar was also very effective, and I think BDD in game 1, something I didn't mention, was that his wave control after he was so far ahead also left a lot to desire. You know, BDD, even though he had this massive advantage, I think he could have pushed a lot more midways. There was opportunities. If you go back and look at the review of game 1, there was a lot of situations where he could have done it a lot better. And I think with that being said, we can talk about game 3. Game 3, you know, I think first thing that I want to mention in game 2, I really don't feel like the Varus is a good choice. I really prefer the Shen. I think the Shen is not the Shen. I really prefer the Twitch. I think the Twitch as a champion is something that is underrated. Prey has a history of playing Twitch. I think that's when I fell in love with Gorilla and Prey, was when he was playing Twitch and they played this Kassadin and they had these compositions that were very hard to execute. It was over when there was Najin times, you know, this was incredible to watch. And the thing that I want to point out is that, you know, in the second game, I think that the one problem with draft was that Varus is just not that effective. I think Varus as a champion is just not too exciting. I think it's ineffective and it's a niche pick. I think it's something that has worked in scrims maybe, but on stage I feel like the performance of Varus is lacking. Tristana had 3 wins today and Tristana had 3 very impactful games. The last game of the day we had Longzhu. You know, they were getting pushed in bottom, and also a big deal that Crown was pushing in mid lane at all times. Crown was having priority with this Sandra into Talia. The matchup worked out perfectly in his favor. Talia was under her turret most of the time. Ambition also ended up being ahead. There was a situation where Cuz was trying to make a defensive play into bottom, and I feel like the mistake here was that Longzhu never actually tried to play into topside. Eventually, Samsung used enough Shen ultimates to get themselves ahead. Bottom tower fell, and then Tristana and Tarek swapped into topside, took top tower, and then they rotated into mid lane, got mid lane tower as well, Infernal Drake, and everything was just in favor of Samsung. And I feel like Longzhu performed worse and worse the further we got into the series. Samsung, on the other hand, we talked a lot about the mistakes of Longzhu. I want to talk about Samsung and the beauty of what they brought to the table here. Draft-wise, they brought in a lot of new ideas. Galio was permabanned, loved what they brought to the table. Everything kind of meshed together, and I think there was always this idea, there was a clear win condition, you know, group up and play around this, play around these factors, play around here. I think it was very evident in every game when it comes to their picks, how it synergized together. And it was very beautiful to see. I think the main people that people criticized, Crown, Ruler, and Ambition, they have solved a lot of their problems. I think Ruler in game 1 didn't play phenomenal, but I think the rest of the games he played very well on this Tristana. He delivered and he had priority against the Varus, which is a big deal to me. If you have Tristana against Varus and you have priority in bot lane, like what's the point of Varus? You just made Varus useless right there to me. You know, Varus becomes this tank killer, blah blah blah, but that to me makes Varus useless. If Tristana is having priority against Varus, Varus is useless to me. Goodbye. You know, you're not my son anymore, you know? That kind of ordeal. And that was a big thing with Ruler and Core JJ in bot lane. Second, I think Crown is someone that I critiqued a lot. I think this tournament in the group stage, he was a very underwhelming. Great game on Malzahar, like sure, really terrible start, he got first blood killed and then he came back because BDD gave him a lot of breathing room, and then it didn't seem like it ever happened, you know, it didn't seem like it ever happened that he got solo killed, just didn't exist anymore. And then the second game on Talia was wonderful, and this Lissandra performance was through the roof. He was pushing in BDD the entire time, and he was definitely playing a lot better than BDD today. And then Ambition, you know, his main criticism was that he's so inactive in the early game, and I felt like this time around, you know, he was the one creating the first bloods. He was actually very active, you know, and he actually made things happen together with the Shen. He was also pressuring Cuz. So I think Ambition, 3 games on Sejuani, you know, I think this is something that might not happen again, where he gets Sejuani every game, because this is his comfort, right? He was the one that played Sejuani jungle first, and I think this is a comfort pick for him, and I think he delivered big time. Kuve as well, you know, Kuve is the one that people expected to be like the big performer for Samsung, and his wave management was perfect, sublime in the first game, and you know, his Shen play was also fantastic. He played very, very well. So I'm going to call it right there. Very fun series. I'll see you guys in the next one. thank you very much for watching. I got the doorbell ringing, so it's a good time. See you guys.